Picture a man who rose from an outsider to Rome's most celebrated general, only to die in civil war, his legacy overshadowed by his rivals. That man was Gaius Marius. Gaius Marius is one of the most compelling figures in the Roman Republic. He began life as a political outsider, a Novus Homo, or new man, with few connections in Rome. But through his brilliance and ambition, he climbed to the top. Marius proved himself during the Jugurthine War, and the Roman people elected him consul an astonishing 7 times. For a time, he seemed destined to retire as a revered statesman. Instead, his ambition drew him into civil war, where he would face bitter rivals and a grim fate. This is the story of Rome's first strongman, who broke tradition, built a personal army, and cleared the way for future leaders like his nephew Julius Caesar. Gaius Marius was born in Arpinum, a town outside of Rome, into a family without deep political roots. Ancient biographers portrayed him as a commoner, but his family must have had some wealth to fund the careers of both Marius and his brother. Still, he was considered a new man, the first of his family to enter politics. In a world where success usually depended on noble ancestry, Marius had to rely on ambition, talent, and perseverance to make his way. Even without noble blood, he carried the burning conviction that Rome should reward merit, not birthright. That conviction would guide him for the rest of his life. But how would this outsider prove himself in Rome's most unforgiving arena? Marius launched his career in the year 134 BCE, serving under the famed general Scipio in Spain. Scipio recognized his potential and praised his skills. This endorsement helped Marius win election as a military tribune, his first step on the political ladder. Later, he served under Metellus and took part in campaigns that earned Metellus a triumph in Rome. Marius's reputation as a capable officer was steadily growing. He wasn't just another soldier. He was learning the craft of command, observing leaders closely, and gaining the trust of troops. But recognition wasn't enough. Marius wanted power of his own. After a few failed elections, Marius secured the post of tribune of the plebs in 119 BCE. This role gave him influence among Rome's lower classes. As tribune, he passed the Lex Maria, a law that reformed voting procedures by making ballots more private, limiting the control that wealthy patrons had over their clients. It was a bold move, and it strained his relationship with powerful allies. Still, the law won him enduring popularity among the common citizens, who felt protected from intimidation at the polls. And once again, Marius found himself torn between the people's support and the wrath of the elite. Marius had his fair share of career setbacks, but he pressed on. He lost the race for aedile, but managed to win the praetorship in 116 BCE. Afterward, he governed further Spain, where he enriched himself while dealing with unrest in the province. Even there, he demonstrated a combination of pragmatism and ambition, restoring order while securing wealth and social standing. In 110 BCE, he formed a powerful alliance by marrying into the prestigious Julii family, becoming Julius Caesar's uncle by marriage. This connection linked him permanently to one of Rome's oldest lineages and gave him newfound prestige in the Senate. Now, his path to greatness was beginning to take shape. Rome's troubles in North Africa offered Marius his breakthrough. During the Jugurthine War, Marius distinguished himself in key battles, including the surprise at the Battle of Muthul, where his quick action saved Roman forces from disaster. His leadership and rapport with soldiers earned him admiration. However, his ambitions clashed with those of his commander Metellus. Marius eventually returned to Rome, fueled by popular support, and ran for consul. His campaign emphasized his identity as a new man who relied on ability, not ancestry, a message that resonated with voters. What followed would forever change the Roman military. Elected consul in the year 107 BCE, Marius took command in Numidia. He revolutionized recruitment, enlisting landless citizens into the army, a reform that would permanently reshape Rome's military system. His soldiers began to look to their generals for rewards rather than to the Senate, a precedent with enormous consequences. Though victories were slow, Marius's relentless campaigns pushed Jugurtha into a corner. Ultimately, Jugurtha was betrayed and handed over to the Romans. Marius returned to Rome in triumph, though questions lingered about who truly deserved the credit, Marius or his ambitious subordinate Sulla. But just as Marius reached the height of his fame, new dangers loomed on the horizon. As Marius celebrated his African victory, disaster struck elsewhere. Germanic tribes had crushed Roman armies in Gaul. With panic spreading, the Senate turned again to Marius, electing him consul in absentia, breaking tradition. Over the following years, he rebuilt Rome's shattered armies and prepared them for a showdown with the Cimbri and their allies. Marius drilled his soldiers tirelessly, forging a hardened force that was utterly loyal to him. To the Roman people, he was no longer just a general. He was a savior in waiting. The survival of Rome itself now rested on his shoulders. Marius's patience paid off. In 102 BCE, he crushed the Teutones and Ambrones in Gaul, slaughtering tens of thousands. Soon after, he and his co-consul Catulus faced the Cimbri in northern Italy. At the Battle of Vercellae, Marius delivered another decisive victory, breaking the threat once and for all. The battlefield was littered with enemies, and Rome breathed again. Marius was hailed as the savior of Rome and showered with honors, securing yet another consulship. For a brief moment, he seemed untouchable, the embodiment of Roman resilience. Yet, the greater his glory, the more fragile his position became. There's still much more to unfold in Marius's story, but if you enjoy uncovering these hidden twists of history, following along with the collector is the best way to be sure you don't miss the next one. Your support lets us keep exploring the past in all its drama and detail. Thanks for being here. Glory faded quickly. In his later consulships, Marius allied with ruthless populists like Saturninus, whose violent tactics damaged Marius's reputation. When riots broke out in Rome, the Senate ordered Marius to act. He turned against Saturninus, who was killed, but the episode left Marius tainted. His image as a hero dimmed, replaced with suspicions of opportunism. Marius withdrew from politics for a time, though he remained a respected figure, especially amongst soldiers, who remembered his victories. For many Romans, Marius embodied both the heights of heroism and the depths of political compromise. But still, Marius was not finished. Marius returned to the stage during the Social War, winning new victories despite his age. Even as his health waned, his determination burned bright. But his rivalry with Sulla reignited. In 88 BCE, when command against Mithridates of Pontus was awarded to Sulla, Marius maneuvered to claim it for himself. The conflict spiraled into open civil war. Sulla marched on Rome itself, forcing Marius to flee. Yet Marius returned with an army of his own, seized the city, and purged his enemies in a wave of bloodshed. He was elected consul for the 7th time, but within days he fell ill and died. Gaius Marius's long career ended not in triumph, but in turmoil, leaving Rome scarred and divided. It was a dramatic finale to one of Rome's most turbulent lives. The story of Gaius Marius is one of ambition, innovation, and tragedy. From humble beginnings, he rose to command Rome's armies and secure the Republic's survival against foreign threats. Yet, the very reforms that made him great also weakened the Republic, planting seeds of loyalty to generals rather than to the states. His disregard for tradition and his appetite for power fractured the Republic, unleashing rivalries that would shape Rome's future. His life became both a model and a warning for generations to come, proof that even the mightiest of victories can carry the cost of ruin.